Good morning, this is the Paradise Unicorn Priestess bringing you day 179 of A Course in Miracles, the Yin translation, where we use female words. This would be June 28th if you're starting at the new year. The Forgotten Song. Never forget, the world the sightless see must be imagined, for what it really looks like is unknown to them. They must infer what could be seen from evidence forever indirect, and reconstruct their inferences as they stumble and fall because of what they did not recognize, or walk unharmed through open doorways that they thought were closed. And so it is with you. You do not see. Your cues for inference are wrong, and so you stumble and fall down upon the stones you did not recognize, but fail to be aware you can go through doors you thought were closed, but which stand open before unseeing eyes waiting to welcome you. How foolish is it to attempt to judge what could be seen instead? It is not necessary to imagine what the world must look like. It must be seen before you recognize it for what it is. You can be shown which doors are open, and you can see where safety lies, and which way leads to darkness, which to light. Judgment will always give you false directions, but vision shows you where to go. Why should you guess? There is no need to learn through pain, and gentle lessons are acquired joyously and are remembered gladly. What gives you happiness you want to learn and not forget. It is not this you would deny. Your question is whether the means by which this course is learned will bring you the joy it promises. If you believed it would, the learning of it would be no problem. You are not a happy learner yet because you still remain uncertain that vision gives you more than judgment does, and you have learned that both you cannot have. The blind become accustomed to their world by their adjustments to it. They think they know their way about in it. They learned it, not through joyous lessons, but through the stern necessity of limits they believed they could not overcome. And, still believing this, they hold those lessons dear, and cling to them, because they cannot see. They do not understand the lessons keep them blind. This they do not believe, and so they keep the world they learned to see in their imagination, believing that their choice is that or nothing. They hate the world they learned through pain, and everything they think is in it serves to remind them that they are incomplete and bitterly deprived. Thus they define their life and where they live, adjusting to it as they think they must, afraid to lose the little that they have. And so it is with all who see the body as all they have and all their sisters have. They try to reach each other, and they fail and fail again, and they adjust to loneliness, believing that to keep the body is to save the little that they have. Listen and try to think if you remember what we will speak of now. Listen. Perhaps you catch a hint of an ancient state not quite forgotten, dim perhaps, and yet not altogether unfamiliar, like a song whose name is long forgotten, and the circumstances in which you heard completely unremembered. Not the whole song has stayed with you, but just a little wisp of melody attached not to a person or a place or anything particular. But you remember from just this little part how lovely was the song, how wonderful the setting where you heard it, and how you loved those who were there and listened with you. The notes are nothing, yet you have kept them with you, not for themselves, but as a soft reminder of what would make you weep if you remembered how dear it was to you. You could remember, yet you are afraid, believing you would lose the world you learned since then, and yet you know that nothing in the world you learned is half so dear as this. Listen and see if you remember an ancient song you knew so long ago and held more dear than any melody you taught yourself to cherish since. Beyond the body, beyond the sun and stars, past everything you see and yet somehow familiar, is an arc of golden light that stretches as you look into a great and shining circle, and all the circle fills with light before your eyes. The edges of the circle disappear, and what is in it is no longer contained at all. The light expands and covers everything, extending to infinity forever, shining, and with no break or limit anywhere. Within it, everything is joined in perfect continuity. Nor is it possible to imagine that anything could be outside, for there is nowhere that this light is not. This is the vision of the child of God, whom you know well. Here is the sight of her who knows her mother. Here is the memory of what you are, a part of this, with all of it within, and joined to all, as surely as all is joined in you. Accept the vision that can show you this, and not the body. You know the ancient song and know it well. Nothing will ever be as dear to you as is this ancient hymn of love the child of God sings to her mother still. And now the blind can see. For that same song they sing in honor of their Creator gives praise to them as well. The blindness that they made will not withstand the memory of this song, and they will look upon the vision of the child of God, remembering who she is they sing of. What is a miracle but this remembering, and who is there in whom this memory lies not? The light in one awakens it in all, and when you see it in your sister, you are remembering for everyone. In this text reading, we have this description of someone who is seeing an imagined world instead of the real world, and so they're bumping into objects and stumbling over things that they can't see, whereas ways that are open before them, they're perceiving as solid walls. And since I've frequently referenced the idea of being an avatar in a video game, imagine if, okay, so you're an avatar in a video game, but here's the real clincher. The map you're shown in the video game of, corridors and hallways and doors and objects has nothing to do with what's actually there. So imagine your video game avatar is constantly bumping into things and stumbling over things that isn't shown you in that video game map. And then there's places on the map where there's these solid walls and locked doors, but if you were to attempt to go through them, you would just go through them. It's just kind of a funny idea to me. I don't know, maybe it's similar if somebody's sleepwalking and they are still in a dream and they're seeing some world that's not at all what the actual layout of the house that they're in or building that they're in. And so it seems like they'd be bumping into stuff and then not walking through places where they could go through. I don't know. I've never been a sleepwalker. So we're told that this false world that leads us to stumbling into things and not walking where there's a way clear is caused by judgment. We feel that we have to live by judgment. Without judgment, our human training says you would just fail in every section of life if you didn't exercise judgment. Like, that's part of being human. But A Course in Miracles is leading us to a state where we have reconnected. We have reestablished our awareness of our connection to all that is. And so we are constantly receiving true and accurate information. And we are only able to receive it if we let go of all our own judgment, because that judgment is what's creating this false overlay so that we're bumping into stuff and tripping over stuff and not walking through these clear passageways we could be walking through. I also really love that A Course in Miracles teaches that there is no need to learn through pain, that we actually learn better through joy, because that is something that is near and dear to me. I don't like suffering. I don't like seeing others suffer. I love the idea that we could all choose to learn our lessons with joy. And I adore that. And A Course in Miracles says, hey, I get it. You don't believe me yet, but if you actually adopt the principles and practices, you would live a life where you are learning through joy and not through pain. But so many of the teachings of A Course in Miracles feel really threatening to the ego, and it feels really painful to be told that what I think of as my individual identity doesn't exist. All these things that I'm attached to aren't real. And it's like, hey, if you just practiced the lessons where you remind yourself that that is the case, you would actually find your moments, your holy instants filled with joy. And it's an act of faith. It's basically saying, hey, try it out, experiment on it, especially if what you've been doing so far hasn't been working so well. That's when you become really convinced. This text reading also talks about how those who have become accustomed to this false world, who've adjusted to it as best they can, it's like, okay, they've gained the skills to navigate this false world, but they still hate it. They hate this limited, discouraging world. And it makes me think of all these beautiful, pure, innocent children that come born into the world, and then they meet up against all these grown-ups who preach deadlines and harshness and rough bosses and consequences and death and taxes and aging and sickness and whatever. That's the message is being poured out constantly, it seems, to these little children who just come in going, why don't we do it this way? And the grown-ups are like, because we can't do it that way. And, that beautiful little hopeful spirit just gets crushed by all this depressing cynicism. And A Course in Miracles is like, no, the children were right, not the grown-ups. There are no limits. There only seem to be because you believe in them. And then we have this beautiful description of this ancient song that we barely remember, and it just makes us want to weep if we think about it, because it's so beautiful, and we feel homesick in this insane world. We're homesick for heaven. There's this really beautiful piece of music created by the band called Yes, and the song is called The Revealing Science of God. And this song was put out in 1973, and it's a very long song. This was back in the era of these epic rock operas that would just go on and on and on forever. To me, this song describes the story that A Course in Miracles tells, how we all began as this oneness and then imagined what would separation be like. And then the Big Bang, the explosion, all this separation, and these individual fractured fragments of God going out and very excited for the adventure that they're embarking on. But then there's this refrain that the song keeps repeating that says, what happened to this song we once knew so well? Signed promise for moments caught within the spell. And you get the sense that even though these little shards of the divine are so excited for this dazzling new world they've created for their individual separate experience, there's this part of them that's like, wait a minute, we forgot something very important. What was that? What was that precious thing? There's another part where it says, what happened to wonders we once knew so well? Did we forget what happened? Surely we can tell. I love to listen to this piece of music. It's like, 20 minutes long. It's a rather big investment of time to sit down and listen to it, but I always find it a very spiritual experience, very inspiring, especially as the song kind of shows you how these individual fragments of God suddenly see the pain and suffering that trying to be separate has caused, and they start to learn this harmony and this coming back together, and then the song ends in this return to oneness. It's really beautiful. Okay, lesson 179, review of lessons 167 through 168. God is but love, and therefore so am I. 167, there is one life, and that I share with God. God is but love, and therefore so am I. 168, your grace is given me, I claim it now. God is but love, and therefore so am I. That is our brief review. Happy practicing.